Imagine a man who single-handedly transformed the leadership style of one of history's greatest figures, Moses. A man who brought order to chaos, wisdom to uncertainty, and fatherly love to a fugitive on the run. A man who, despite being a non-Israelite, became an honorary member of the Israelite family and played a crucial role in shaping their destiny. Welcome to the fascinating story of Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, a man whose sage advice and selfless devotion had a profound impact on the fate of a nation. Join me as we uncover the remarkable contributions of this unsung hero of the Exodus. In the Bible, Jethro is known as Moses' father-in-law, the priest of Midian. He is a significant figure, especially in the book of Exodus. Jethro provided refuge to Moses when he fled from Egypt after killing an Egyptian who was mistreating a Hebrew slave. Moses later married Jethro's daughter, Zipporah. Jethro is also noted for his wise counsel regarding leadership and administration to Moses. Seeing Moses overwhelmed by the task of personally settling disputes among the Israelites, Jethro suggested appointing capable men to help judge minor cases, reserving only the significant cases for Moses. This advice significantly improved the efficiency and effectiveness of leadership and is often cited as an early example of delegating authority. Jethro's respectful interaction with Moses and the Israelites is also a noteworthy aspect of his character, highlighting themes of wisdom, hospitality, and effective leadership. In Exodus 2, Moses flees Egypt and his position in the Pharaoh's family, because he has killed an Egyptian overseer abusing enslaved Hebrew. He wanders in the wilderness and comes upon a group of women tending their flocks who are being harassed by men attempting to chase off their flocks. Moses jumps in to help the women and learns that they are the daughters of a man named Jethro, also called Reuel, the priest of Midian. According to the Illustrated Dictionary and Concordance of the Bible, the names Jethro and Reuel represent two different traditions but refer to the same character. Jethro took Moses in. After some time, Jethro offered Moses his daughter Zipporah as his wife and gave him a shepherding role. It took much trust for Jethro to give all of these to Moses. It would be akin to giving someone your daughter to marry and the business that supports your family. In his commentary about the life of Moses, John Gill observes, keeping the sheep of his father-in-law, in which great personages have employed, and who have afterwards been called to the kingly office as David. And this was an emblem of his feeding and ruling the people of Israel, and in it he was an eminent type of Christ, the great shepherd and bishop of souls. Suddenly one day, Moses sees a burning bush on Mount Horeb near where he was shepherding the flocks. God calls him to know him as the great I Am, and to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. After this amazing holy ground encounter with God, Moses asks Jethro for permission to leave with his wife and sons to find his people back in Egypt. He also carried the plan that God had given him to go to Pharaoh to plead for the release of the Israelites. With Jethro back in Midian, Moses and Zipporah and their children traveled to Egypt to bring the message to Pharaoh, Ramses II, about releasing God's people from slavery. When Pharaoh finally gave in, the Jews crossed the opened Red Sea and began to make their way through the wilderness. We read in Exodus 18 verse 1 that Jethro hears of all of the miracles that God has performed for his people and goes out to visit Moses to see this amazing thing that has been done. Two significant things happened when Jethro met with Moses after the Israelites were released from Israel. First, Jethro acknowledges that the plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, and leading the entire cadre of Jews into the wilderness were miracles that only God could do. In Exodus 18 verse 11, Jethro says, "Now I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods, for he did this to those who had treated Israel arrogantly." Then he brought a burnt offering and other sacrifices to God, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat a meal with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. Second, he becomes a very important counselor to Moses. According to essential figures in the Bible, Jethro saw Moses' responsibilities in leading this large group of people and told him it was too much for him. The Bible says, when his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge, while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?" Exodus 18 verse 14. Jethro then tells Moses what all leaders need to know, how to delegate. He tells Moses that his responsibility is to meet with God and bring the people's disputes to him. He needs to take God's instructions and teach the people how to live and behave. But that should be it. Moses should select capable, trustworthy men who fear God and appoint them over groups of Israelites, acting as judges. They should judge simple cases and bring the more difficult ones to Moses. This would help Moses not be overwhelmed and would help build the nation as they moved forward. I learned that Jethro was a man of great hospitality, trust, and concern. He did not abandon Moses once he left Midian, but sought him out to hear about his God and offer incredibly helpful advice to a man who God had put in charge of a huge group of people. The story of Jethro reveals him as a man of singular attractiveness and strength, in whom a kind, considerate disposition, a deeply religious spirit, and a wise judgment all met in happy combination. We can also learn that character counts when we decide who to listen to. Moses had worked for Jethro for 40 years and therefore knew him quite well as a man of integrity. Jethro also knew when it was time to go and let Moses fulfill the rest of the mission God had for him.